Hello, folks. This is the Domination Podcast. I'm your host, and I am just dying for curiosity and the truth. Now, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. It will greatly help me, and it will greatly help the channel as we're looking to spread the message of seeking the truth each and every episode. So, if you want more and more people to seek the truth with us, go ahead and like, subscribe, get the algorithm to recommend us more. It will greatly help me and it will greatly help the channel as we're trying to build something spectacular here. Now, the first topic I want to get to today is you know how Smokey the Bear would tell you only you can prevent forest fires, and that's entirely true. Most forest fires are started based off of people throwing a lit cigarette in the campground, and all of a sudden the whole woods up in blaze. In New York City, we're seeing a big problem with crime at epidemic levels, as far as your rapes, homicides, stabbings, you name it. Well, I'm here to tell you that New York City has the solution. Now, buckle your seatbelts for this one, as this is breaking news to me. New York City is demanding that the New York City pizzerias cut their carbon emissions by 75% from pizzerias that use coal or wood burning stoves. Now, I'm not somebody from New York, but New York City is known for the pizzas, and that's one of the staples of New York City, along with the Reubens and all that. So New York City is trying to force these family-owned pizzerias to pay upwards of $20,000 in emission control devices to cut carbon emissions uh, at the with their stoves and all that. The reason behind this is because New York City believes that coal and wood burning stoves are the biggest contributors to carbon based air pollution, and it's causing global warming. Even though there's been evidence contradicting that due to The Guardian saying that while they do cause, um, what's the word I'm looking for? They do cause pollution, but not nearly as much pollution as the pollution coming from cars. So you're going to force these New York family owned businesses that have been in New York City for decades now, going from generation to generation to generation, to pay $20,000 to cut down carbon emissions while New York City has epidemic levels of crime on the streets with pretty much an incentive to commit these crimes because there is no New York City is a no cash bail city, meaning you commit the crime, you get booked, get fingerprinted, and then they just release you. That's just the progressive policies they have instituted in New York City, as far as the mayor, the attorney general, all of that. Uh, but they're worried about carbon emission. I, I mean, I understand, you want to keep the environment clean, you want to keep it where it's so it's safe to breathe, but I think me feeling more safer traveling to New York City is a bigger priority. That's how you attract tourists and all that to come to New York City than carbon emission. All right. In New York, in New York State, not New York City, they've already passed a law just this year that's banned gas stoves being placed in new buildings being built, meaning New York State will not allow a contractor or builder or any of that to put new gas stoves in it. All your stoves are either going to have to be electric, or we're going to have to go back to the old days where it's a wood stove. Oh wait, that's right. They're going to charge you extra if you have a wood stove because that's burning too much carbon emissions. You need to pay $20,000, and it's going to force these New York. It's going to put even more of a strain on these family-owned pizzerias that they're already hurting anyways due to COVID and all this. All this, some of these some of these pizzerias are just getting by, and you're now forced to pay up to $20,000 in emission control devices. It might run them out of business after being in New York City, being loyal to the city for decades, and that's how they get treated by their local government. All right, enough of me rambling on that. Let's get to the next topic. Let's see. Bud Light, the local company, is their parent company Anheuser Busch has recently announced they have fired their two top executives after Dylan Mulvaney controversy. If you don't know who Dylan Mulvaney is, to give you a summary, or Dylan Mulvaney is a man that's transitioning to a female, has documented her story on TikTok, whatever. Uh, they have fired the vice president of marketing, Alyssa Hinderschneid, or Hinderschneid, whatever, uh, and group vice president of marketing, Daniel Blake. Now, I was confused at this before. I was like, that sounds like two of the same positions, and I did my research on this, and to clarify, the the group vice president of marketing, Daniel Blake, is over the Alyssa Hinderschneid. So, in other words, Mr. Blake hired Hinderschneid. We're just gonna call her Alyssa at this point because it's easy for me to say Alyssa than Hinderschneid. And to give some context behind that story, Alyssa, uh, after the whole Bud Light controversy with Dylan Mulvaney, she got on a podcast and said that she wanted to get away from a frat boy, out of touch clientele, as that she believes that Bud Light was a dying brand, and she wanted to market Bud Light towards the rainbow community, the transgenders. Okay, well, it's while it sounds great on paper, targeting your beer to less than one to like 1% of a population, in turn, can alienate, I don't know, 20-30% of your clientele. So at what cost are you willing to mark or willing to change? As Bud Light is still is continue not just Bud Light, but Anheuser Busch is continuing to bleed out money, and people are still not convinced that Bud Light or Anheuser Busch are sorry for what they did. And based off the recent evidence we have, um, I don't think Bud Light is apologetic, and they don't care about the whole Dylan Mulvaney uh, controversy. Is they're out there sponsoring Pride celebrations in Toronto and all that, where these drag queens are flaunting their junk to children for them to be exposed. Now, is it the drag queen's fault? Not necessarily, but you're basically, as a company, you're endorsing that 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 lifestyle, essentially. Now you could put blame on the parents bringing the kids there, as if you're gonna go to a pride celebration, you're going to be expecting to see that kind of graphic content. But still, if you're Bud Light, you're losing money due to um, putting a transgender on a can of Bud Light, and you think doubling down is going to save you. I I'm not an expert I'm not an expert stock manager, but if that doesn't make any sense to me. Uh, Anyways, enough of me rambling on that. Now we get to the third point that I want to talk about today. It, these are kind of like short mentions. So it broke last night that CNN obtained a copy of Trump's leaked audio. Why CNN? I don't know why. It to me it sounds a bit fishy, anyways. So we're gonna hear all about that in the past couple of days, where Trump said that he sold state secrets, despite Biden saying that in front of everybody on national television. But nobody's gonna talk about Biden saying that because the media will say, "Oh, he's just Uncle Joe. Don't mind him. He's still lovable Joe, despite him losing his mind." And it doesn't take a doctor to attribute that. But anyways, it's come to the attention. The reason Trump audio supposedly got leaked out there is due to a now second IRS whistleblower coming out to say that the special prosecutor was hired by the IRS to stop from prosecuting Hunter Biden. So earlier this week, Hunter Biden, or maybe it was last week, that's what it was. It was last week where Hunter Biden got a plea deal to avoid jail time for tax evasion and gun charges, and the gun charge likely would be dismissed with a court intervention program, some malarkey like that. Uh, Now there's a bunch of IRS, or not a bunch, but there's already been one whistleblower that's done come out prior to today. Now there's a second one that's come out yesterday to say that the special prosecutor that was hired for IRS was to his whole job was to stop the IRS and the Department of Justice from prosecuting Hunter Biden. And it kind of seems fishy to me that it's this two-tier justice system where the Biden family, the Bidens, the Cheneys, the Bushes, the Clintons, they can get away with bloody murder, but if Trump decides he wants to use the bathroom at a local gas station, he'll get indicted for indecent exposure. It's just ridiculous to me. It's on one side, it's a political persecution, and the other side, they can get away with murder. To me, it seems odd. And then the last thing I want to touch on is that Ukraine. That's Joe's side hustle right there. At, as we got documents telling us that the Biden family has had ties in Ukraine. That's pretty much their. Anyways, uh, I swear I'm not trying to sound like Joe Biden. I had something in my mind that I wanted to say, but I'd rather keep it to myself to keep everything family friendly. Well, so Zelensky gave an interview to BBC News, and BBC News asked would they be holding elections in Ukraine during the war, and he said that he won't have elections until the war's over. Now that sounds great on paper. You want people to be at peace and with a conscious state of mind. However, it also sounds a bit fishy to me because it will make Zelensky it will make Zelensky have another term by default. Now that sounds like a that sounds like a dictatorship to me. But what do I know? I'm just some idiot with a microphone and a laptop. Uh, Zelensky's already done banned opposition parties or opposing parties in Ukraine. He's arrested political opponents that has dissented his or criticized his viewpoints, and he's also banned any kind of anti-Ukrainian media. So you make it the way it is. If you start canceling other people's opinions and ideas, it makes it where only one thought of mine is the right thought of mine, and if you question that, then you'll get canceled and thrown in jail. What does that sound like to me? Oh yeah, that's right here in America, where if you just luckily in America we have the freedom of speech, but that's being challenged today under the guise of quote unquote hate speech. And hate speech can vary from person to person, and and the standards of hate speech could change daily. So that's that's the whole idea behind trying to go after people and canceling people that have a a critical viewpoint of a topic and being canceled on the big tech platforms because you dare to question a viewpoint or a policy on something such as the um, the let's see what's a good one. Let's just go with the COVID policy from the 2020. Anyways, uh, that's all I got for today. Like and subscribe to the content. I do apologize for the long pause. I try to keep everything uh, family friendly and within the terms of service because certain people like to uh, put strikes on things that if you say it, then it's automatically flagged. That type of deal. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but you sometimes you just gotta play the game. I don't agree with it, but you kind of have to edge the lines between what you can and can't say on a lot of these big tech platforms. So, like once again, like and subscribe to the content, and I'll see you next time.